This is the final example that we're going to look at right now in the Pythagorean theorem. Example 4, a right triangle has one leg that is 3 times as long as the other leg. The length of its hypotenuse is the square root of 40 inches long. Find the length of each of the legs. So, if we start off with a little diagram, and what we know about it is a right triangle, so we put in a right angle. We know the hypotenuse is the length of it is equal to the square root of 40, and then we need to know the other two sides. Well, when you don't know either side, but you know the relationship between them, I would say let the shorter one be x, and I would always start with the shorter leg having a length x. Let the shorter leg have length x. Okay. Now the other leg is 3 times as long. Okay. 3 times as long. Well, that means 3x. Okay. If it was 3 inches longer, we would say 3 plus x, but 3 times as long is 3x. So find the difference. If it's as long, 3 times as long, then that would be multiplication, so 3x. If it was 3 inches longer, that would be 3 plus x. Okay, so just be careful of the language that's used. So one leg has length x, the other leg has length 3x. Okay, so that's the setup, and then we can move on to the problem. Now Pythagoras' theorem says that the hypotenuse squared is equal to leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared. Okay, well the hypotenuse is the square root of 40, so that's the square root of 40 squared is equal to leg 1. It doesn't matter whether you say x or 3x is leg 1, it makes no difference. Let's say we say it's x squared, and plus leg 2 then would be 3x squared. Okay, when you square the square root, they cancel, and you're just left with 40. So a square and a square root cancel one another out. This is x squared, which is just x squared. And here we have 3x squared. So we're multiplying the 3 and the x, so we square both of them. So it's 3 squared is 9, x squared is just x squared. Now, x squared plus 9x squared are like terms, so they can be simplified. So 40 is equal to 10x squared. And then we can divide by 4. Divide by 10. And if we divide by 10, we get 4 is equal to x squared. And then to get rid of the square, we take the square root. Okay, so we're going to take the square roots. So the square root of 4 is equal to the square root of x squared. Well, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of x squared, square root and the square cancel each other out. And you get 2 is equal to x. Now remember what you were asked to find. It wasn't find x, the question said find the length of each of the legs. Well, the shorter leg has length x, so shorter leg has length 2, and now go back and read the question because it was inches. Okay, if you read the question, we had inches here, so our answers are also going to be in inches. Shorter leg has length 2 inches, and the other leg is 3 times as long. Okay, so 3 times as long as that. The longer leg has length 3 times 2, which is equal to 6 inches. Okay. Right, just before we continue, or just before we conclude rather, if it had been 3 times longer, if it had been 3 inches longer, if that had been the case, then the short leg would be x, the long leg would be 3 plus x. or x plus 3 is how we would normally write it. Okay. Then, putting that into Pythagoras' theorem, the hypotenuse squared is equal to the first leg squared. Let me just try this again. Leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared. So that would have been the square root of 40 squared is equal to x squared plus x plus 3 squared. Now this question gets a little bit more complicated. Square root of 40 squared is just 40 as before. X squared is x squared. But where it gets a little bit complicated is here. Okay, so let's scroll out to the side a little bit. So we have x plus 3 squared. Okay, now you're not allowed to do, so it's not allowed to be x squared plus 3 squared. That's not how this works. Okay, that's wrong. What we have to do instead, x plus 3 squared means x plus 3 times x plus 3. And we use FOIL to do that, okay? And if we use FOIL, we're going to get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 3 times 3 is 9. So we're going to get x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, let's take that information back over here. We're going to get x squared plus x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so we'll have 40 is equal to x squared, and x squared is 2x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now this is a quadratic equation that can't be solved just by taking square roots. So what we're going to have to do here is move that 40 across. And we'll have 0 is equal to 2x squared plus 6x plus 9 minus 40. And tidy these two up. 0 is equal to 2x squared plus 6x minus 31. Okay? And to solve that, we'd have to use the minus b formula. Okay, now I'm not going to do that for you here, because we know already how to use the minus b formula, and if you want, and if you've worked fast enough, you may get a chance to do this in class in this context as well. Okay? Alright, thank you for watching.